Yes, sir.
So today is our first class of communication networks. We'll try to cover these topics in this session. So we'll start with the introduction part, the definition of communication networks, why these networks are essential, and how we can form the communication networks. So try to answer these questions. So the first question can be answered. It is a collection of autonomous computers interconnected to exchange the data or information by a single technology. This is very important. Okay, so it's a common technology should be there among the devices who are participating in the network. So here the fundamental definition, it says that it's a collection of autonomous computers, need not be computers now, because we have all the devices which are capable of communication. Okay, all that can be considered. So not a conventional computer that we have. Okay, so a mobile device can be a part of the communication network. A wireless sensor node which has a communication capability can be a part of the network. So it's a collection of the devices which have communication capabilities. So that keep in mind. And all such devices who want to participate in the network should follow a single technology, a common technology. That's important. Okay. Why communication networks? Because we can communicate with the devices across the globe, okay, who are part of the network. So the computers can be geographically located anywhere. So here you should be careful in understanding this anywhere, because it can be across the globe or universe who are the part of the network. So it is not that a device who has communication capabilities, but if it is not part of the network, obviously you cannot communicate with the device. So a device which should be a part of the network, and they can communicate with any other device in the network across the globe. So that is the main idea behind these networks. How you can form the communication network? You can form the communication network by connecting the devices using a wire or wireless. If it is a wire, you can use coaxial cables, copper cables, optical fiber cables. If it is a wireless, you have to have certain frequencies to transmit the signals. So that is how you can form the communication network. Now let us have a brief look of the applications, so which we know. Okay, so I am showing some very traditional applications which we use in our daily life. And apart from this, maybe you are the better people who are uh, efficiently using these networks for ordering whatever you want, right? So starts with food and all the things which we want, we usually order using these networks, right? So let us start with the first application, which is business applications, where the resource sharing. So where, suppose I have some database, anybody can access the database if I keep it in a server, right? So everyone need not to store the data in the systems. Instead, there will be a dedicated system which maintains that database. If you want some information of the database, you can access through the network. Okay, so everything you need not to maintain in your machine. So this is information sharing. So most of the time, the communication happens as client and server mechanism. For example, I want some article in IEEE.org. Okay. So what I'll do, being a client, I will access the server of IEEE.org. In that, I'll try to search my article and get it. Okay. So this is server client mechanism, where client always put a request to the server for the content that he wants, and server always gives the replies of the information that is expected by the client. Server will never make a request to clients. Okay, so always clients will make a request to the servers. So the information exchange between client and server happens through requests and replies. Another one is emails, so which we know, right? So when you are a part of the network, you can send emails to the people, and if I want to share, if I want to send a mail to multiple people, like employees of the organization, then in a single click it is possible. And business electronically here, so when you, for example, if you take automobile business, so there are different parts of the vehicle, so which can be manufactured individually. So there can be a network that is formed among the manufacturers, so to order the individual parts, which are suppliers. Then online shopping, so which we are very comfortable and in our daily life, especially in the current situation, all the things we order through online. E-commerce, right? We order the groceries, all that. And here I want to add like a e-classroom, what we are doing now, right? So physically we need not be in the same place. Instead, we can conduct a class. The next one is home applications, which can be classified into access to remote information. It's again like a client and a server mechanism. Person to person communication or peer-to-peer communication, it's a little different, we'll see now. And interactive entertainment and e-commerce. The first one is accessing to remote information, so where there is a database which is available at the server, and being a client you can access whatever you want. Suppose if you are interested in health things, then you can access such kind of servers to get the information. Similarly, science, sports, so different domains will have a different server. The information usually they maintain exclusively for that, and you can access such kind of servers. So as I told you, if I want to read my some research articles, then these are certain websites I can go, where I can connect to server and I can get all the content that is available in the server. I can access it. And the next one is person to person communication or peer-to-peer communication, where so there is no fixed servers. Instead, you are communicating with others. It's a distributed fashion. It's not client server based. It is a distributed fashion. It's called peer-to-peer or person to person communications. Okay. So for example, if you take WhatsApp, so it is peer-to-peer. So end-to-end security will be provided. So there is no, so there is a backend server, but directly you are not going to access the server. That you should understand here. Okay, it doesn't mean that what do you call, the backend servers always will be there, but here, unlike you, for example, if I want to access the IEEE article, then definitely I should go to IEEE.org. So I should access the server. Whereas in WhatsApp application, it's not like that. You are not going to access the server. Instead, directly you will send some content to your friend. But remember that there is a possibility of making copy of it in the back end. So that is what the recent of disputes that are coming with the new security policy of WhatsApp, right? So you may be aware of this. So the WhatsApp content can be shared to Facebook. So that is what they are telling, and so it means that whatever you are keeping in WhatsApp, even though it provides end-to-end security, but end of the day, it is maintained by some organization. So they can always have a monitoring on your content. and they can make a copy of it. So the next one is interactive entertainment. So here, so using the networks, you can switch on to the channels which you want, right? So the here, video on demand. So previously in a traditional cable system, what you do, the cable operators provide certain channels to you, and you are forced to watch only those channels. Whereas here, with the help of video on demand, you can switch to any channel TV programs. So electronic commerce. This is again, it's a repetition kind of thing where in our daily life, all the things can make use of communication networks and do our daily uh, needs, right? So like paying bills, managing the financial transactions, bank accounts, right? Investments, all these things that is possible with electronic commerce. So in a traditional way of doing, for example, stock markets, usually there will be, in a traditional way, there will be broker, and you should call the broker to sell or to buy some stocks. But now it is not like that. So being a customer, you can have a straight monitoring on the market, and you can do the transactions on your own. Need not to go through the middleman. The next one is usage of internet for home users. So here we can classify like this: business to consumer. So like books, online purchasing of books; business to business, as I told you, automobile sector, where the um, automobile manufacturer, he himself want the individual parts of the vehicle from other suppliers. Okay, so the other supplier is also a business, so it's a business to business communication. And government to consumer communication, it's like tax filings, right, IT returns. So here, being a taxpayer, I need to communicate with the government servers, and I need to pay my tax. And consumer to consumers, like E-Trade Center, something is there, no? Manipal Trade Center, MTC, I think. Yeah. So it's a consumer to consumer where you are going to keep the things which you do not want, and there is some other party which are ready to, buy it. It's a consumer to consumer platform. And peer-to-peer, as I showed you, it's a file sharing. So that can happen using peer-to-peer communications. And coming to mobile users. So in the case of mobile users, you cannot have wires that is possible to connect between the devices. Instead, you have to have a wireless medium. So in the case of wireless medium, like military networks, right, and the channel is a wireless channel, and you should be very careful and in having a security, because military applications always demand security, so you should mind about security. And Wi-Fi in campus, MIT campus, you have Wi-Fi connection, so where you are allowed to access the internet while you are moving. And this is another issue which you should also mind. Okay, so when you are making use of the communication networks, also you should mind about certain aspects like social, ethical, and political issues. So we should be very careful, otherwise it leads to fights, so which we can see regularly nowadays, right? So twitters, because of some tweets of politicians or somebody, so which hurts feelings of others, they start fighting each other. So we should be very careful. So especially when you make a comments, you have rights to express your opinion, but make sure that it doesn't hurt others, and it doesn't create issues. So that we should be very careful. As long as your access and your discussions happens about cooking, gardening, the people won't very much. So but when you talk about politics, religion, sex, so when you are expressing your opinions, you should be very careful. So there may be chances of creating issues. So the idea here is let and live and let live. So that is the fundamental thing that you should mind when you are using these networks. Okay, so when you are using communication networks, so you should be happy, and also others, should also be happy. You should not be the reason to others unhappy. So that is the meaning of live one, let live aspect of using the communication networks, and it gives a very good, cooperation and functioning of the organizations. So when you have, employee rights and employer rights. So being an employee, I should know what are the rights. At the same time, what are the responsibilities and the guidelines to be followed. As an employer, they also have rights, as well as, they are also responsible for the employees. Similarly, universities and students. So students know, they should also obey the guidelines of the universities, and universities will, give good things to the students for their well-being. And similarly, government versus citizens. So here, all these communication networks play a major role. Okay, so otherwise, what happens? If a student has certain issues, directly he can make use of the networks, and he can communicate directly to the respective authorities. For just a moment, you assume that there is no net communication networks that is there. Then what is the traditional situation here? So if they have any issues, they start protesting it, and so it disturbs the functioning of the system, and maybe it takes us more time to resolve the issues, and to bring the issue to the authorities itself takes time. So if you do not have any communication networks, right? So how a common citizen can inform the government without the network? So he has to put an application. First of all, he should go to office and he should inquire and put an application. We don't know how long it takes to process it, and so on and so forth. Whereas now it's not like that. Just I can go to income tax site, and I can file my returns, right? So it's just like that. It happens. I need not to go anywhere, any office. So that is the advantage and applications that we have using these communication networks. So end of the day, these networks make our life easier. That's all. It should not, you should not take in a way that you will become lazy. Okay, that's important. So in order to make our life easier, we should use communication networks, but make sure that we should not be so weak that we will be lazy to go somewhere and to do our own works. Fine. So, and security is a major issue here. So identity theft, so impersonation. Okay, so we should always keep that in mind when you are using these networks. Make sure that others will not impersonate us. That's about a brief introduction of the applications that we use uh, in our daily life. And coming to the types of communication networks, so we can classify the communication networks based on two aspects. One is the transmission technology, and the other one is the scale. Okay, so the first one is whether the networks are broadcasting it, multicast, or unicast. Okay, so hope you know these terms. Unicast in the sense, you being a communicating node in the network, you want to transmit the content to a particular node in the network. Okay, it's a one-to-one communication. For example, a personal email. So you want to send a personal email to your friend. It's a one-to-one communication. Coming to multicasting, it's like being a faculty, I want to convey something to you people. So I can send it to a section IDs, right? So where the entire section of people can able to see that. So one to many. So this is multicast. Broadcast is one to all. So I want to convey something, so I'll send to all the people. For example, in Mahe, so MIT Exchange is the Manipal Exchange. So when you send something, through that exchange, it reaches all the employees of Mahe. Okay, so that's a kind of broadcast. So broadcast is one to all, multicast one to many, unicast one to one. So that is the way how you can classify the communication networks based on the transmission technology. The second aspect is based on the scale. Scale in the sense how much area that a network can cover and how many nodes that we can have. So this is the scale. Scale in the sense it's a size. Okay. So size with respect to the communication distance as well as the number of nodes that can be participated in the network. So you can see here, so a PAN, personal area network, so which covers meters, few meters. So for example, if your laptop, you can have a wireless mouse, wireless keypad, right? So these things can be connected to your laptop through, wireless medium. So that is a personal area network. So which covers, 1 meter. But here you remember these are not hard limits that you can have 1 meter for personal area network and 10 meters, 100 meters and 1 kilometer for a local area network and 10 kilometers for metropolitan area networks and 100 kilometers, 1000 and 10,000 kilometers. These are wide area networks and internet. These distances which I have mentioned in this table is not a hard limits. Instead, so there will be deviations from this value because it depends on your communication environment. So when you have a line of sight path, maybe you can get a more communication range. When there is obstacles which have a lot of absorption of the signals, then the communication distance will be reduced. So for example, if you take Bluetooth, so Bluetooth usually when you have a line of sight distance between the sender and receiver, so hopefully you will get a couple of meters. If you have any obstacle, then probably you may not get the signal at all, even though the distance is less. So between your laptop and wireless speaker, so there is a wall, partition wall, then maybe the signal you may not receive on the other side. Okay. But the physical distance, if you see, it is not, it's less than 1 meter. But whereas if you keep, your laptop and wireless speaker on two corners of the same room where there is no obstacles in between, so probably you will get a good signal even though the distance is more than 1 meter. So what I'm trying to say here is these communication distances, it also depends on your environment where you deploy the networks. Okay, so personal area network where a computer can be installed with wireless printer, wireless scanner, and wireless keyboard, wireless mouse, and so on and so forth. So all these devices will be communicated, connected to laptop with wireless. And coming to local area networks, where you have in your laboratories, all the computers are connected in a LAN. So here few meters can be covered and the number of machines also will be much higher than PAN. And so it extends from 10 meters to 1 kilometer and a few kilometers in certain, so network situations. Okay, so for example, if you take, the network, the computers in a lab, so that is a few meters. So same way, the multiple laboratories are connected to a local server in the department, and such multiple department servers can be connected to an institute server, and so on and so forth. So here it goes 100 meters and beyond 100 meters. Okay, so similarly, campus area networks, local area networks with a higher range, like 1 kilometer and 3 kilometers. Okay, so this sometimes we also call it as campus area networks, where your ion connection, which you use in the campus, is an example for such networks. And coming to metropolitan area networks, so it covers one particular city. So example like your cable TVs, the conventional cable TV networks, which covers that city, right? So that is considered as a metropolitan area networks. And coming to wide area networks, where the network is deployed and it covers the country or continent, okay, so which is thousands of kilometers. So that comes under wide area network. And the internet. So internet is usually a network of networks, so which covers the planets. So here in this discussion, you can understand that the communication networks can be classified based on the area that they cover. So this theory part, which I have already discussed, I will be skipping this as the PPT will be forwarded to you, and also the class is recorded, so you can go through it later. So here, if you see the data rates that each network supports is much higher. You can see the LAN which connects the traditional LAN. Here we will look into that. So LAN of different types. Okay, so traditional LAN and gigabit LAN, so which supports 10 Gbps. Even now we have 100 Gbps LANs and so on and so forth. And if you take wide area networks, it's a PSTN network and satellites. It's part of wide area networks. Okay, and the metropolitan area networks, which covers a city, and personal area network is the smallest network among all these, where it covers only 1 meter or at least a few meters. So you can see this is an example of personal area network, where all the devices like a mouse, keyboard, printer, scanner, all are connected to a computer wirelessly. And this is a wide area network where the satellites are a part of the network. So you can also see the multiple local area networks are connected through connecting devices like routers, switches, right? So they are connected to the network, and these LANs, they communicate each other through this wide area network. You can see here PSTN, public switch telephone network, is also a part of wide area network. So here you mind that, so the PSTN network, which was already there, is a backbone for all our current communication networks. Okay. So this is an example of wireless networks, full-fledged wireless networks, and a combination of both. So let us have a look at this ad hoc networks. So which is full-fledged. So this is a full-fledged wireless network, which is a distributed network. So you have, for example, a board meeting where the board members have laptops and they want to share the content. So the meeting held for half an hour. You taking cables and connecting their laptops and configuring their laptops to form a network is not feasible. Okay, so it is not worth of doing all that network configurations for a half an hour meeting. So instead what you can do is, so you can form a network instantly with wireless medium. Okay, so and they can share the content as and when they disperse from the meeting hall, the network will be collapsed. So here remember that there is no server that is present here in the network. It is a distributed network. It is not a centralized network, it is a distributed. So for example, if you're a Bluetooth network is an example of this ad hoc network. Okay, so ad hoc networks are multi-hop networks. So these are wireless networks fundamentally, and there is no server as such. So every node has equal rights to access the network resources. So if you go little deeper about these ad hoc networks, we can classify these ad hoc networks into mobile ad hoc networks, wireless sensor networks, and wireless mesh networks. So mobile ad hoc networks is when you want to form a network and the nodes are moving and they want to share the content. So here there won't be any server, so you can configure yourself. The nodes can configure themselves to participate in the network. And same way, the sensor networks, which is a special case of ad hoc networks, where the nodes will sense the physical medium and they try to process it and communicate. For example, I want to monitor room temperature, okay, so from remote location, or I want to monitor a wild animal movement in the forest. So what should I do? I should deploy the sensor nodes and they sense the movement of the wild animals and they process that sensed data to a form which is compatible to transmit. And when they transmit it, so directly they are not going to transmit to the control station where the decision is made. Instead they take help of their neighbors, and there is something called cluster heads. So they can try to send to cluster heads, and the cluster heads will aggregate the data and they will transmit to the base station. So that is how sensor nodes works based on the cluster based architectures. And there is also called layer based architectures in sensor networks, where you send the data to a next layer which is close to base station, and that node will forward the data to another layer which is much closer to base station. Like that the data will be forwarded. This is called multi-hop networks. Okay, so the property of ad hoc networks is it is a distributed network, the medium is wireless, and it is a multi-hop networks. So it is not a single hop. For example, if you take cellular communications, so where you try to make a signal, make a call, it directly goes to the base station or access point, right? So it doesn't take help of your friend's mobile to transmit the signal. So that is a one hop communication. The traditional cellular communication is a single hop network, whereas here it is not like that. It's a multi hop network where your data will be carried by your neighbor stations, and finally it will be reached to the base station. So that is about multi hop networks. And wireless mesh networks is a combination of this. And let us come to this infrastructure based. So that is this part. So here it is something like your ion connection which you use. So where multiple laptops will be connected wirelessly to the nearby access point, and the other side of the access point is a wide connection. Okay, so this is infrastructure based. However, you will get mobility to certain extent. So you can move the laptop in your room here and there, but you cannot get mobility to a greater extent where you can travel in a vehicle and still you get. No, it's not like that. Okay, so this is about portable to fixed networks. Okay, so here there is a portability to a certain extent that you can achieve. So now coming to the hardware aspects of the network. So here, being a network designer, so you know the fundamental definition where to you know the applications of the networks that we have discussed. And the first aspect that we have discussed is how we can classify these networks based on the scale and transmission technology. So that is one thing you should mind being a network designer. So what's the application where you are deploying the network? So whether the point to point or peer to peer network is required, or multicast network or broadcast network, what sort of network you want, and how much area your network should span. So based on that you can configure LAN, MAN, WAN, and so on. So there's one thing you should mind. The second thing that you should focus here is, so how I have to connect these devices, in what fashion I have to connect these devices. So that talks about network topology. Okay, so the network topology describes you the fashion that the nodes are connected. You can see the standard topologies which I'm showing here is a bus topology where there is a single backbone wire, and any node who wants to participate in the network, just you try to connect to this backbone wire. Okay, so that's as simple as that. So which we call it as a bus topology. And ring topology is the nodes which are connected forms a ring. You can see here, and the nodes which forms in the fashion of star. So here at the center you will have one connecting device like a switch or hub, so which connects all the devices in the network. And this kind of stars, if you extend it like branches, it is called extended star topology. You can see here. So this each branch is a one star network. And the last one is a mesh topology where each node will have ideally direct links to all the remaining nodes in the network. Okay, so there will be independent links to all the remaining networks. Now, quickly ask me, if I offer these 5 topologies to you, which one you prefer and why? Can someone answer this?
Good morning, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I think if we are preferring speed, we should use mesh topology.
Mesh topology, okay. Any other answer?
So star topology.
Star, okay. Anybody? You should tell why.
So if we are considering multiple
Sir, depending on what devices need to communicate with each other and whether they are allowed to communicate with each other, and then uh, characteristics such as latency and then speed and then amount of data which will be carried over, that also matters. So in mesh topology, if we need other devices to communicate with each other, and suppose an extended star topology, the lowest point in the node, like for example, the one on the the node on the far right, it doesn't communicate with any of the nodes close by to it. It can only communicate to one of the node it's connected to. So it can, whether you need limited communication between other nodes also.
Okay, very good, very good. Next, any other answers? Anybody is, opting a bus topology or ring topology?
So depend upon the situation, I guess, because if I am setting up a lab, then I would like to go with the bus topology or ring topology.
Okay, okay. Okay, so now let me quickly give the details of each topology. Okay, the functions, how it works, and all. Maybe you can, understand and answer my question in a better way. Okay, so let us look at the bus topology. So as I told you, there is a single backbone wire, so which which is present here, and any node which wants to communicate just using the connecting device. So the connecting setup, it's a kind of connector or relay sometimes, so can be used to connect to this backbone wire. It's as simple as that. But here try to understand that since this forms a network, so a particular node wants to communicate with other node, so definitely they have to go through this backbone wire. So when a particular pair of nodes are communicating, then at the same time, if any other node tries to communicate, then the data will be collided. Okay, so here only a particular pair of nodes can communicate without collisions only when other nodes are not trying to transmit the data. If the other nodes tries to transmit the data, then the data will be collided. That is how it works. So now coming to this ring topology. So in a conventional ring, what happens is the data will be traveled in a single direction. Okay. So let us take clockwise direction. I'm talking about a single ring here. So every node, for example, the one particular node wants to communicate with the other node. So then the data will be traveled in a same direction. Okay, and they have to traverse through other nodes. So for example, you take a failure of a particular node in the ring topology definitely disturbs the functioning of the ring. Okay, so you cannot cross that failed node because the ring is broken at that point. So now when you compare with the bus topology, failing of one particular node doesn't really disturbs the functioning of the rest of the network. So that's the advantage with bus topology here. Whereas in ring, failing of one node will definitely affects the functioning of the ring. Okay. So coming to star topology, where there is a central element which connects all the nodes. A failing of a particular node in the network doesn't affect the rest of the network. However, the failing of the central node which connects all these devices, if it fails, then the entire network is collapsed. Coming to extended star, so here if you see one branch is one network. So one ring star topology here. So here the leaves fails, then there won't be a problem. Okay, so for the rest of the network. But so you see, so here in this diagram, you can see the three hierarchies. So the lowest one is the individual nodes. So each node is connected to the next level. So this is one connecting device. Okay, so it's a first level of star, and like these branches, I have 4 such branches. All the branches are connected to a central node. So this is the next level of star. Okay, so now if this particular device is fail, then this particular branch cannot participate in the network, but the remaining 3 branches still can communicate each other, but these 3 nodes cannot participate in the network. Okay, so similarly the other branches also, but when the central element is failed, then again the entire network will fail in the extended star. So now coming to mesh topology, failing of one node really doesn't affect the other nodes because each node will have direct links with all other nodes. Okay, so here I told you failing of the node, whether it affects the rest of the network or not. The second thing that you should also mind that what is the amount of interconnections that you have in the network. So you can see the bus topology, the amount of wires that you use to connect the devices is very less because it's a matter of a single wire, backbone wire that you use. And in the ring topology, it is maybe a little higher. Okay, so because between the nodes you have to connect through wires, and a star topology, it's okay, so it's not ignorable, still you have. And mesh topology has a more amount of wires that you require because every node will have a direct links with all the remaining nodes. So here I am taking 5 nodes, but if you consider some 100 nodes in the network, then you just imagine the amount of wires that you need. Okay, so the bus topology and the mesh topology are the 2 extremes with respect to the amount of wires that you use. Okay, so
I have a
yeah.
doubt.
Yes.
So, can you give me an example for star topology?
Star topology is the LAN that you install in your labs. If server is down, right, so you cannot communicate with others. So all the devices are connected to a central device through switch or hub. If that switch fails, then you cannot, there won't be any LAN. Hope answered your doubt.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, isn't it then similar to the bus topology?
Bus
Because in bus also,
topology,
every nodes are connected to the central central wire or backbone. Isn't it similar then to star?
no. See here in the star topology, there is one connecting device here at the center, which is not shown in this topology. But here there will be a central device like switch or hub. I'll go to that when we discuss about connecting devices. I'll show the same example where you can see the switch or hub at the center. If that switch is fail, then the entire network is fail in the case of star topology. Whereas in bus topology, there is no such central connecting device. Instead, you have just a wire. That's it. So if wire is broken, then obviously you will have an issue. Otherwise, there is no issue. So there is no device as such. You have a wire. If any one particular device is failed, that really doesn't affect the rest of the network. Same thing is applicable in the star topology where one particular communicating device fails, that doesn't affect the rest of the network. But the problem comes when there is a central connecting device fails.
Got it, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So now two things you mind that the amount of wires that you use to form the network. The second thing is failing of a particular node, how whether it is affecting the rest of the network or not, and also collisions, data collisions. So in the case of bus topology, when a particular pair of nodes are communicating, then the rest of the nodes should not make an attempt. If they make an attempt, then your data will be collided. So whereas in ring, usually, so you will have a token ring. A token system is followed in the ring topology. So a token is a small bits, so 24-bit packet, which is continuously revolving in the ring. So any particular node who wants to transmit the data to other node, then they have to grab this token which is revolving in the ring, and once they grab the token, they are allowed to transmit the data. So once they complete the transmission, they have to release the token. So once it is released, then again it travels in the network. So any other node who wants to transmit the data, again they grab it and it continues. So without grabbing the token, you are not allowed to transmit the data. So that is how this ring topology works. So now with that system, you just think of whether there will be data collisions or not. Hopefully it should not be, because so only one node grabs the token at a time. So other nodes cannot transmit. So collisions will not be there here. And star topology. So here, when one particular node is sending, simultaneously all other nodes also tries to communicate, then there may be collisions. If this connecting device is not capable of handling, then there will be collisions. So there is most of the time we use either a hub or switch. So I'll come to that. So which works how, okay. But however, remember that there are chances of collisions here. And coming to mesh topology, the chances of collisions are very less because you have a direct communication with the nodes, right? So you are not going to transmit through a common point. So amount of wires you mind, and failing of a particular node, whether it affects the rest of the network or not, that you mind. The third thing is data collisions. Keeping these three in mind, now you can opt what kind of topology suits. Okay, I'll let me give an example of my application, and you tell me which topology you prefer. So for my bank transactions, so to deploy the bank ATM networks, which topology you try to opt?
Extended star.
Extended star. Okay. Any other answer? Okay.
Sir,
Yeah. Star topology. Okay. So in the star, there are two things. One is the connecting central connecting device is either hub or switch. So in the case of hub, what happens is when you are sending the data, so all such data will, should go through the central device, which is hub. So when it is going through hub, the other end of the hub, what it will do, it will pass that data to all the devices, rest of the devices in the network. So whatever you are sending, it will be given to all the remaining nodes in the network through the other side of the hub. Okay, so when you use a switch, it is quite intelligent. So switch, what happens? So for example, from A to B, you want to communicate. Then C to D, there is another pair of communication. Then A to B will be connected without collisions with C to D communication. So switch will direct the data such a way that there won't be any collisions. Whereas in hub, it is not possible. So definitely there will be collisions if more than one pair tries to communicate. So you should also think of security. For my bank transactions, definitely I expect security. So if you use a star or extended star, so the security aspects you supposed to compromise here, because the central node is trying to send this data to all remaining nodes also in the network. So, and another thing is when you are using a star or extended star, if the central device is fail, the server is fail, then the entire network is fail. That should not happen, right?
Sir, we can use mesh topology, sir.
Mesh topology. Okay. So what's the amount of interconnections? Obviously, it will be very high, right? So in the case of mesh topology, security is, you can have a highest security compared to all the remaining, because every node exclusively will transmit to the other nodes without taking help of the its neighbors or something like that. So security is maintained, but at the cost of amount of interconnections. So this is ideal case where I have shown in this figure that every node will have direct links with all other nodes, but practically it's not like that. There will be a partial mesh. So that means from a particular node to any other nodes in the network, you will have more than one possible connections. So you are not relying only on one connection like in a bus. So a bus, you are completely depending on this backbone wire. So whereas in ring, you are depending on this other nodes also. Whereas in star, you are depending on the central node. So whereas in mesh, it's not like that. So failing of one node, doesn't really affect, because you will have other paths to reach the remaining nodes in the network. Okay. So always you will have path, and security is maintained in mesh networks. So for my bank transactions, preferably I can go with the mesh topology. Okay, so failing of one machine should not affect. So you should be able to find the alternate, so that the network is functioning 24/7.
Sir, I have one doubt.
Yeah.
Sir, you are saying that security. Sir,
Yeah.
I don't understand how can we associate security with the with the topology we are studying, because I think security is implemented at the software level and at the level above, some level above the hardware. Like I can replace this hub with the switch to increase my security or whatever kind, but I can implement my security at the software level. I don't understand how security is related to the topology.
Yeah. So security need not be limited to software level, but also hardware level. Okay. So here the security comes into picture because some content you are giving it to your other nodes which are not intended. Okay. So whether they can able to decode it or not, that's a secondary. But you are giving the content to them. Okay, there are chances if that guy is so intelligent to decrypt it. Okay, so then obviously he can make it. So need not be see. So it is not exactly limited to software. When you come to CDMA, where the modulation is used, spread spectrum technology, it's a physical layer aspect. So when you are sending a signal with certain carrier, and the unauthorized fellow knows that carrier, he can, when he tune to that particular carrier, he can get your signal energy.
That is okay, sir. But sir,
Yeah,
what
that
if
is hardware aspect.
that is okay,
Okay.
sir? Yes, sir. But that is not the based. But security is not based on the topology, sir. Because if I am making a bank transfer from one continent to another, then it's practically impossible to like make a direct transfer. I
No,
have
it's a
to.
partial mesh. That is what I am telling. For all practical purposes, it is a partial mesh topology is implemented.
Okay,
All these
okay, sir.
bank transactions, bank ATM networks are partial mesh. So partial mesh means always you will have alternate paths.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I want to add some more thing with respect to that security. For example, you take a ring topology, you are sending some content. So how you are sending, you are not directly sending from one node to the receiving node. Instead, you have to travel through other multiple nodes. So obviously, they will have a copy of your content. Okay, they will have a copy of your content. So similarly in star topology, whatever you want to transmit to the other node, so it has to go through the central element. So when it goes to central element, so if you use a hub, what it will do is that content will be given to all the nodes. Okay, so the receiver, so every node they will do is they will match their address with the address which is present in that packet. So if it is matching, then it will accept, otherwise it will ignore. However, the content will be received by all the nodes. Same thing is applicable for the extended star also. Whereas in bus also same thing applicable. When you are sending content, so what usually you do, you keep the data along with that your address, which is sender's address, and to whom you want to transmit receiver's address, you are going to append. So when you are sending this packet, it doesn't mean that directly it will go to your receiving node. Instead, this content will be received by all the nodes in the network. So after receiving this content, what they do, they compare their own address with the address which is present in the packet. If it is matches, then it receives, otherwise they ignore it. Whereas in mesh network, whatever you are sending, it doesn't go to all the nodes. Instead, it will go to the node which you want to communicate. So here your content is not taken by other nodes. So in that way, the security is a better one in mesh topology. That is what I am trying to say here. Hope that
sir.
security aspect is clear.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So there is no doubt that security can be implemented at a different layers. I'll come to that point. So it need not be limited to software. Okay. So software means usually the application layer. For example, you take HTTP protocol. So we can incorporate security aspect by and we renamed it as HTTPS. Right. That is the application level security. So same thing I can do at different layers. So I can provide security in the network layer. Okay, I can provide security in the physical layer also. So using different, the modulation techniques. So for example, spread spectrum modulation, it provides security. So CDMA technology. So they use a spread spectrum where you will have a security. It's a very tough to, despread your signal. Fine, we'll come to all that. We'll touch upon all these aspects when we go in detail about each particular layer. Fine. So now coming to this, yes, done. So these discussions are covered. So let me skip this. Bus topology, all the devices are connected through backbone network. And this is a start topology. You can see here the hub. Hub is the central element where all the devices are connected. So whatever you are sending it, so it will be delivered to all the remaining nodes, that you should mind. So hub is not a so intelligent one. So instead we can also have a switch. Okay, so this is a ring topology. In a conventional way, you will have only single ring, so which is a primary ring, which we call it as. And if this ring fails, so there is a backup ring that is possible. So this comes into active state. Okay, so when the primary ring fails, then the secondary ring will be active to continue the functioning of the ring. So that is one usage of dual ring. So the other way that I can also use is to transmit one ring I'll use and to receive another ring I'll use. So that is also possible. And here, so there is some adjustment that I can do to continue the functioning of the ring. That in the case of primary ring, what I'll do is when a particular node fails, so it should not disturb the rest of the ring. So what I can do, I use a relays, so that when a particular node fails, then the relay will be closed, and so that this failed node will be bypassed. So that relay system I can also include. So there is a detailed discussion of token ring, which is IEEE 802.5. So when it comes, we'll discuss how exactly it functions and the priorities, all that stuff, and the token system. So how the token is shared among the nodes, all that we'll discuss in detail. Now coming to extended star. So where you can see the switches are possible. Switches are the connecting devices. Hubs are the connecting devices at layer 2. So switch and hubs are called layer 2 devices. And similarly routers, these are also connecting devices, which are layer 3 devices, which is network layer, and so on and so forth. Okay, so we'll see. I'll see here what happens. There is a small difference between switch and hub. As I told you, both are layer 2 devices. So what is this layer 2? You will come to know when we talk about ISO model. So for the time being, you remember that it's a layer 2, which is called a data link layer. So switch and hub are the layer 2 connecting devices, and the routers are layer 3, which is a network layer. So now switch and hub, I'll go to that difference. So mesh topology, as I told you, the reliability is higher because always you will have alternate paths. You are not relying on one particular connection. Instead, you have multiple alternate connections to reach the nodes in the network. However, the amount of interconnections are very, very high. Yes, so here you can see hubs and switches, routers, right? So these are the connecting devices. In the bridge, you can see bridge. So bridge is a kind of repeater. It's a kind of repeater. I'll come to that what exactly repeater is. So bridge is a layer 2 device. Repeater is a layer 1 device. Layer 1 is a physical layer. Okay, so bridge connects two dissimilar LAN, two similar LANs. Similar in the sense they use the same sort of technology. Okay, so the network, a LAN which follows the same technology. So two such LANs is, I call it as similar LANs. So bridge is a connecting device which connects similar LANs. Okay, so for example, a LAN in one particular lab and another LAN in another particular lab, using a bridge device, I can connect them. And the router is a layer 3 device, which is a network layer. So where the data is in the form of packets, we call it as packets. And this router handles the data using IP addresses. And gateway is used to connect to dissimilar networks. Dissimilar in the sense they follow a different technology in the networks. Okay, so it's not a common technology, different technology is followed. For example, one is the ATM network, and ATM in the sense asynchronous transfer mode. Okay, so it's not automatic teller machine, instead asynchronous transfer mode. So that is the ATM network. So another is a IP network, for example. So these two are two dissimilar networks which follow two different technologies. So you can connect these networks using gateway device. And firewall is used as a security device to have security for your data transmissions. And NIC, network interface card, so which you can see. So so in your laptop, if you are using a wide internet, so you will insert internet cable somewhere in your laptop, right? So that particular hardware is called network interface card. So where you have a physical layer and data link layer. Layer 1 and layer 2 are implemented. Okay, the functions of layer 1 and layer 2 are implemented in that hardware. You can see here, this is the hardware that is used. So where this is identified using physical address or MAC address. Okay, so MAC, medium access control, which is a sublayer of DLL. Okay, so you will come to know better when we talk about layered architecture. But for the time being, you remember that this is a network interface card where layer 1 and layer 2 functions are implemented, and this is identified using MAC address. MAC address is also called as physical address. So you can see, can someone answer, did you find your MAC address of the device? If so, what is the format that you have seen?
Sir, it consists of hexadecimal characters in pairs of two separated by a colon.
Exactly. So you can find, hex digits. Each two hex digits are separated by a colon. So like that, you can find six such, hex digits, right? Six fields. So six fields means 12 hex digits. So 12 into 4, 48. So 48 bit is your MAC address. So that 48 bit is represented in hex digits. So each two hex digits, so that means 1 byte. So each byte is separated by a colon, like that you will have 6 bytes. So that is your MAC address or physical address. And coming to this
Hello,
hub
sir.
and switch, yeah,
I had a doubt.
yes.
So you said that bridge is also a layer 2 device, and you
Which
earlier
one?
said bridges,
Yes.
and switches and hubs are also layer 2 devices. So, like, what is exactly the difference between them?
I'm coming to that point. So hubs and switches both are layer 2 devices. So there is a small difference that hubs doesn't give security, because as I told you, so when you connect, so when you are sending the data, definitely it will go to hub. So what hub does is it gives the data to all the remaining nodes. It doesn't try to recognize to whom it wants to transmit. Okay, so you being a node X, okay, so X wants to send it to Y. So what X will do, X will give the data to hub. So hub should forward the data to Y actually, but hub doesn't have that intelligence. What it will do is the data will be forwarded to all the remaining nodes in the network. So now every node will compare their address with the address, destination address present in the data. So if it is matching, then it will accept, otherwise it will ignore. So finally the Y device address will be matched with the destination address present in the packet. So Y will receive, the remaining nodes will not receive. I mean, they ignore it. They receive the data, but they ignore it because there is a mismatch in the destination address. So here, so hub, it is not intelligent, because so instead of recognizing Y and transmitting the data to Y, instead it is giving to the all. So that's why it's insecure. So all other nodes also getting the content. Okay. So whereas switch, it is not like that. So when X wants to send it to Y, so X will give it to switch, and switch will tries to connect to forward it to only Y, not to other devices. So it's a quite intelligent. Switch is quite intelligent. So obviously you can expect security, because the data is not shared with other nodes. So hope difference between hub and switch is clear. And now coming to a repeater. So once I give the functions of repeater, then I'll extend the same thing to bridge also. So repeater is a layer 1 device. So where it's a physical layer. Okay, so physical layer, what happens? The data is transferred in terms of bits. So when you are transferring, when you are representing these bits, either you have to use 0 volts or some positive voltage, negative voltage. So different things you use to represent binary bits. So we'll see that it's a physical layer function. So we'll discuss more when we talk about line coding techniques. But however, you, for the time being, you remember that the binary bits are represented in terms of voltages. So when you are transmitting this voltage signal, after traveling a certain distance, the amplitudes of the signal will be deviated from their original values because of the attenuation in the medium. So when the amplitudes are becoming too weak, then what will happen? There are chances that binary 1 will be become binary 0. So for instance, you assume that binary 0 is represented with 0 volts and binary 1 is represented with, say, some 3 volts. Okay. So when you are transmitting this binary signal, after some distance, 3 volts becomes 2 volts, and still if you travel for quite a longer distance, 2 becomes maybe 1 volt also. So now what will happen? 1 volt signal, which originally represents binary 1, but when you are detecting such signals, binary voltage 1 volt is closer to 0 volts, not 3 volts. So 1 volt will be treated as binary 0 instead of binary 1. Okay. So this becomes, your data will be corrupted. So in order to avoid that, what you do is, at a regular distances, you try to regenerate your original signal. Okay. So for example, when 3 volts is becoming 2 volts, you try to regenerate the original shape of your binary sequence. Then you transmit that. So that is called regenerating the signal before it becomes too weak, where your data will be misinterpreted, like binary 1 will be detected as binary 0, like that. So just before that, you try to regenerate your original signal. So that's a function of repeaters. Remember, repeater will regenerate the original shape of the signal, but not it amplifies the signal. That's important. Repeater is not an amplifier. It is just reshaping a device for your signals. Is that clear? Repeater is used to regenerate your signal shape. So what exactly you are using to transmit? Binary 0 with 0 volts, binary 1 with 3 volts. So same way I can also represent binary 0 with minus 3 volts and binary 1 is with plus 3 volts. That is also different ways of representing your binary sequence. Now coming to the bridge. So bridge is same like your repeater, but it operates in layer 2. Okay, it operates in layer 2. So in layer 2, what happens? It filters the content. So you are sending to a particular destination. So being a bridge, what it is going to do is, it is the others data will not be forwarded. So it will look at the physical addresses or MAC addresses, and if that destination is present, then only it will, otherwise it will not. Okay, so that is a same functions as your repeater, but it operates at layer 2. Hub is done, right? Switch is done.
So one thing,
Yes.
sir. Can you go to the slide of bridge?
Yes.
So here you have in the third sentence, I think it's written similar N/WS. So what's its meaning?
Similar networks.
Okay, network.
N/W means it's a network. It's a short form. I am using it.
Thank you.
So bridge is a connecting device which connects two similar networks. I hope you know the meaning of similar networks. That means the two networks which follow the same technology.
Okay, sir.
So switch is done. Next, routers, as I told you, it's a layer 3 device which handles the data with respect to IP addresses. So each router will have multiple input lines and multiple output lines, which we call it as ports. So the data, the packets will come, the IP packets will come through input ports, and the router, what it does is, it will execute the routing algorithm. Okay, so there is something called routing processor. So this processor will have a routing algorithm. So the objective of this routing algorithm is to find the shortest path between the given sender and receiver. Okay, so what it will do is, for the receiving packet, it will look into the destination IP address. It will look into the destination IP address, and through which output line it should go to reach that destination, it will be decided. So accordingly, the packet will be forwarded through one of that output ports. Okay, so each router has input ports and output ports. So the incoming packet will come through one of the input ports, and the router will execute routing algorithm to decide which is the best output port to reach the destination. That is the job of the router here. Any doubt on this? It's a very, very important connecting device where we more focus when we discuss about network layer. So we talk about shortest path algorithms, how to find the destination with the shortest path, and how it is decided, and how the routers forward the data. All that we'll discuss. But here you should be very clear with the what exactly router, what is its main function. If you have any doubt regarding the router, you can raise now. Any doubts?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
I have a question about the bridge again.
Yes.
You said that it's a layer 2 device, but it's also said that it's a repeater. So here we are not regenerating the signal, right? Bridge does not do that.
No. It doesn't regenerate the signal. Like, it filters the signal. Okay, so it filters the content based on the MAC addresses. See, for example, I am sending to a node Y. Okay, so my destination address is Y. So I am sending the data. So now what it will do is the bridge. So whether the Y is present or not. Okay, the other side of the bridge, whether there is a Y or not. If there is a Y, it will forward. Otherwise, there is no point, right? If there is no Y on the other side, so it will just filter it.
Understood, sir. Thank you.
So the next, yes.
In the router, I had a doubt. So basically, what is it routing? Like, is it routing the HTTP requests, like whatever?
No. HTTP is the application layer. We are not going to handle the data at application level. Instead, we'll handle the data in terms of IP packets. So each IP packet will have a source IP address and destination IP address. So for example, right now we are using IPv4, right? Version 4. So which is 32-bit IP values, right? So you can see in your laptop maybe 190.20.16.10. So it's something like that, right? It's a dotted decimal format. So IP addresses are dotted decimal. IPv4 I am talking about, not IPv6. So the source IP address will be there, destination IP address will be there. The job of the router is when the IP packet comes through one of these input ports, it should decide which output port is the best one to forward the packet so that it will reach the destination. That's it. Okay, so it doesn't really mind about the content of it. So it will look at the sender's IP and the destination IP. And in the network, see, remember where the router is sitting in the subnet, communication subnet. Okay, so we'll come to that a little later. But here it's just a forwarding device. Router is just a packet forwarding device. It doesn't generate any data.
Okay, sir.
I'll get, being a router, I'll get a packet, okay, from some source. So now I should decide which output port I should forward that packet so that it will reach the destination, okay, in a best possible way. So how I can do that? I execute the routing algorithm. So here you can see there is a routing processor. So using when I execute the routing algorithm, the output of that algorithm tells you which is the best output port where you can transmit your packet, forward your packet. It's a forwarding device. It's a packet forwarding device. That's it.
Understood, sir.
Okay. So, and there is a very interesting things about this router, that when you are at each input port, there will be a queue. Okay, so buffer will be there. Okay, so whenever you are getting the packets, first they should sit in a buffer, because the router may be engaged in processing others packets. Okay, so first of all, you should sit in a buffer, and the processor, this router processor will take the packet from the buffer and it will execute like that. So when there is a more traffic, what will happen? There are chances that the buffer is full. So when the buffer is full, then what about the remaining data, whether it will be overflowed or whether we, in the buffer you can remove some content and you can keep the fresh one. There are different strategies and they are very interesting. So we'll discuss when we talk about this network layer aspects. Okay, so that's a quality of service is one of the functions of the network layer. So how we can provide a quality of service for the application data. There are different strategies to discard the packets also. Fine. So now next device is a gateway. So it connects to different networks, which follows different network models and protocols. So the gateway, the name, if you understand that it's a entry point. Gateway, usually for our home there is a gate. So where it is? So that is at the front of the home, right? So it's an entry point to the home. So similarly for the network, the front device will be a gateway device. So where you can, if the outside networks follows different protocols and technologies, and your network follows different things, but this compatibility will be provided by these gateways. Yes, the next one is a physical medium, which we'll discuss in the next class. Okay, so we'll stop here. If you have doubts till this point, you can raise. Otherwise, we'll wind up. Any doubts?
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, the Wi-Fi machines that we use at home, can we also call them router, or is it a different thing?
It's not exactly router, it's actually access point. Which you are using, right? So that's
Yes.
more or less it's an access point.
Sir, in the hub slide, sir, you told that when we send a data of X to the data of Y, other ports just ignore the data.
Yes.
Sir, but then also, sir, it is secure, na? But they are not consider the data, so it is still secure.
See, yes, understood your question. So if the device is acting genuine, then ignore it, because the address is not matching, right? But at the same
yes, sir,
time, if I want to peep that content, I can do that.
So but we cannot access that data, na, sir, because that address is not matching, na, sir.
You can access. See, I'll come to that. See, for example, I get a mail whose destination address is different. Two addresses is different, but CC to me. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So what I can do, I can read that mail, right? But
yes,
exactly, truly speaking, it is not intended for me. It is for somebody else, but it is CC as it came as a CC. I can also go through it. So same way, so even though the content is intended for Y, but even other nodes, when they also receive it, so they can read it. They ignore because it is not intended for them.
Okay, sir.
But still they can read the content.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Any other doubts before we conclude? Hopefully, no doubts. Okay, so you can go through it still. Maybe in the next class also we can address the doubts if you have for a couple of minutes at the beginning of the class. Okay, thank you so much. We are winding up.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, welcome all
Thank
of
you,
you.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.